Welcome to Pinnacle of Awesome, Buddhism Basics. I'm your host, Pema Shamsetso, and I'm here to help you understand the fundamentals of Buddhism. So whether you're a new Buddhist, a longtime practitioner, or just someone looking to be happier, this podcast is for you. Today I'm going to be talking about the objects of refuge, also known as the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. These terms have remained in their original Sanskrit because English doesn't have a good translation for them, especially not a good one-word translation. I'll be giving you the definition of these three terms, as well as what it means to take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. In the last lesson, we talked about Buddha as a state of enlightenment. We also talked about the three types of Buddha: ground Buddha, which is the nature of my present moment thinking; path Buddha, which is my 5 positive thinking; and result Buddha, which is one who has attained the state of Buddha. I also talked about how we take refuge in Buddha as a guide, because when we view Buddha as our ultimate destination, we want someone who has been there before, someone who has walked that path and who can help guide us along that path. Today we're going to be focusing on the second jewel, Dharma. The Sanskrit word Dharma means protector, upholder, and savior. You can also translate it as that which protects, upholds, and saves. When we look at this definition, we realize that everyone claims to have Dharma. Everyone claims that they can protect you, uphold you, and save you from suffering, or that they have a product that can do that. Take the beauty industry, for example. If you buy the right makeup, it can protect you from the suffering of being ugly. It can uphold your youth, and it can protect you from looking old. All of those things are touted as a cause of suffering. And so even the beauty industry claims to have Dharma. They may not use the word Dharma, but they claim to protect, uphold, and save you from suffering. If it is authentic Dharma, if it is genuinely something that protects, upholds, and saves, then it has to always work, and it has to always work better. Putting on makeup can definitely help me feel powerful. It can definitely help me feel like I have some sort of control. However, it does not always yield that result, and it doesn't protect, uphold, and save me from suffering better than the alternatives. Therefore, it cannot be authentic Dharma. The Buddha Dharma is the Dharma taught by Buddha. It is an assertion. It is a hypothesis. It is a theory. It has been tested out by many people and has yielded results. However, because it is in relation to yourself, single present moment thinking, and it is applied through you, you have to be the person that decides whether or not the teachings of Buddha always protect, uphold, and save. And do the teachings of Buddha protect, uphold, and save better? This is why you have to test these teachings. Buddhism is a science, and it does not work as a science unless it is tested like a science. It's very easy to make Buddhism into a religion. We have lots of ritual, we have lots of chanting, we have lots of things that we can say. It is possible to turn these teachings into something that you believe dogmatically. However, that will not yield the desired result unless you really test the beliefs behind the rituals and acquire the faith that comes from testing these things and having real-life examples of how they work. Most of the time, when Buddhists talk about Dharma, we're specifically talking about Buddha Dharma, that which protects, upholds, and saves according to the Buddha. From now on, when I say Dharma, that's what I mean. I mean Buddha Dharma. So what is it that protects, upholds, and saves according to the Buddha? What is Dharma according to Buddha? According to Buddha, Dharma is my 5 positive thinking, renunciation, compassion, faith, love, and wisdom. All of Buddha's teachings fall into these 5. All of Buddha's teachings are related to increasing these 5 positive thinkings. I'm going to spend the meat of this course digging into the 5 positive thinkings. I'm not going to go as in-depth as I can, simply because I just don't have the time. These 5 positive thinkings will protect you, uphold you, and save you from suffering. So the first in this list is renunciation. Renunciation is recognizing that my negative thinking and the resulting negative karma are the cause of my suffering and a condition of all beings suffering. Therefore, I will decrease my negative thinking and negative karma. Even if you aren't ready to believe that negative thinking is the cause of all of my suffering, even if you're not even ready to believe that the karmic system of cause and effect is infallible, even if you're not ready to believe that, if you believe that your negative thinking, your anger, jealousy, greed, pride, and ignorance only lead to suffering, that's good. That's still renunciation, because once you realize that those things lead to suffering, then you will want to stop doing them. We, as sentient beings, are incredibly silly. We do things that we know will hurt us all of the time. We continue to smoke cigarettes even though we know that it causes lung cancer. We eat junk food even though we know it's bad for our bodies. We drink an excessive amount of alcohol even though we know that the next morning is going to be a painful experience. The reason we do these is because we have not connected the result up with the cause yet. So I can say, yeah, my anger is my suffering. When I am angry, I'm not happy. When I'm angry, I suffer. Those around me suffer. And I can say that. But until I actually spend time connecting the dots in my life, I won't really believe it. And I will continue to be angry, because that intellectual knowledge has not yet permeated my belief system, and I don't really believe that it causes my suffering. When I was smoking, I continued to smoke because I intellectually knew that it causes lung cancer, but I did not think it would cause lung cancer in me. I didn't think that that was going to be a result of my smoking. I had to have some real personal examples of how smoking negatively affected me in order to quit, and I had to really think about those. That act of acknowledging suffering as a result of negative thinking, that is renunciation. Renunciation antidotes pride. I will go in more in depth into the 5 negative thinkings in a different course. Because we have spent so much time investing in our negative thinking, we have acquired this pathological relationship to it. So I'm only going to touch on them a little bit here. In order to understand how renunciation antidotes pride, we have to understand a little bit about what pride is. Pride is stagnation. It's believing that you can't change or that you don't need to change. Renunciation antidotes this by desiring change. Renunciation is wanting to decrease your negative thinking. And that desire to change the amount of negative thinking we have is movement, and therefore directly antidotes the stagnation of pride. It can be easy to say, well, I'm a pretty good person. Most of the time I'm loving, most of the time I'm compassionate. I still get angry sometimes, but at least I'm not killing people. We need to renounce the habit of saying that we don't need to change. Renunciation acknowledges the flaws that you have right now. It does not over-exaggerate those flaws. Renunciation is being truly humble. It's not exaggerating your good qualities, and it's also not exaggerating your bad qualities. Renunciation acknowledges our flaws as changeable things. As soon as you take your flaws and say, I cannot change them, that is when you start getting into pride. Renunciation recognizes that flaws are impermanent. We have grown as people, and we can continue to grow as people. I want to bring up this particular aspect of pride that I see a lot in a lot of people, and it is often conflated with the idea of being humble. And it's this idea that I am so bad. And we see that thought as the antithesis of I am better than you. But they have the same flavor. Over-exaggerating your bad qualities is just as prideful as over-exaggerating your good qualities. And I want you guys to really listen to that. I'm going to say it again, and I want you to listen. Self-degradation is as bad as arrogance. We need to renounce these ideas of stagnation. We need to renounce the habit of saying that we can't change. We also need to renounce the habit of saying that we don't need to change. Renunciation is inward-facing compassion. It's having compassion for yourself. It's recognizing that negative thinking leads to suffering and saying, I don't want to give myself that. Be as compassionate towards yourself as you are to others. Which leads us very nicely into the second positive thinking, compassion. Compassion is wanting others to be free from suffering, and specifically the causes of suffering. Therefore, I will help others decrease their negative thinking and negative karma. Baby compassion is just not wanting other people to suffer, not wanting other people to have the causes of suffering, and taking that desire and doing something with it. Compassion is not helpless. Compassion is not sympathy, and it's also not empathy. When we have sympathy for someone, we say that we are sympathetic to their cause. We don't want them to suffer, but there's an aspect of hopelessness there. With empathy, we feel it acutely, and to a certain extent we say, your suffering is also my suffering, which is not beneficial and also not compassion. Compassion cannot lead to suffering. If you see suffering and you react with more suffering, then what you're basically saying is, your suffering is causing my suffering. I want you to stop suffering because it causes my suffering. And that's not compassion, that's anger. When we view suffering, we have to acknowledge that there is always something we can do, even if it is small. Increasing my positive thinking and decreasing my negative thinking benefits all beings, even if it seems like that statement can't be true. Let me just explain it logically. We've all had the experience of someone who is a ray of sunshine. As soon as this person comes in, they light up the room. It's easier to be happier around this person. That is what increasing your positive thinking does. It makes you into a ray of sunshine, and therefore it makes it easier for those around you to be happy. That ray of sunshine radiates out to everyone they touch. And then those people become happier. And even if it's not every moment, for a small period of time, it's easier for them to also become a ray of sunshine. And so they, in turn, radiate outwards. In this way, it may take a while, but you can recognize that things like being a ray of sunshine, they help. It's important to acknowledge that. There is always something that you can do. Even if it's just increasing awareness, even if it's just recognizing the ways in which your own negative thinking contributes to it. These all help, and that's what it means to be compassionate, to see the suffering of others and want to do everything in your power to help them, wanting to most efficiently help these people. True compassion antidotes anger. Anger is basically saying the cause of my suffering is outside of myself. When I see your suffering, the act of me seeing your suffering causes my suffering. There is a helplessness in anger. By saying that something outside of ourselves causes our suffering, we victimize ourselves. We allow our suffering to be contingent on something that we cannot control. Compassion antidotes that by saying, there is always something I can do to help reduce the suffering of others, even if it's by reducing my own negative thinking. That makes it easier for others to reduce their negative thinking. And negative thinking causes suffering. I may not be able to solve the problem of war. I might not be able to solve the problem of hunger. I might not be able to solve the problem of violence. But by decreasing my negative thinking, I can help others decrease their negative thinking. And in that way, I have helped them be happier. I have helped them decrease their suffering. The next positive thinking we're going to be talking about is faith. Faith is recognizing that my positive thinking and positive karma are the cause of all my happiness and a condition of all beings' happiness. Therefore, I will increase my positive thinking and positive karma. Baby faith is just recognizing when I have positive thinking, I feel happy. Therefore, positive thinking is a consistent cause of my happiness, so I want to increase it. A lot of people view faith as specifically a religious thing, but we have faith in all sorts of things. Faith is deepened by experiences, by being more loving and recognizing that I'm happy when I'm loving, being more compassionate and recognizing that I'm happier when I'm compassionate. Faith is deepened by acquiring all of these data points and seeing the results of my positive thinking, by connecting the results with the cause and recognizing that my positive thinking consistently leads to my happiness. It consistently upholds, protects, and saves me from suffering. Faith antidotes greed. What faith does is it allows us to reclaim our happiness and say, I am in charge of my happiness. Greed says, my happiness is outside of myself. My happiness rests in being beautiful. My happiness rests in being successful. My happiness rests in making a lot of money. When I get these things, then I'll be happy. That's what greed says. Faith says, I have everything I need to be happy right here. It's my renunciation, compassion, love, wisdom. My own faith is happiness. It allows us to take control of our happiness. In the same way that renunciation is inward-facing compassion, faith is inward-facing love. I want myself to be happy. So I'm going to create the causes of happiness. Want yourself to have as much happiness as you want your loved ones to have. Inward-facing love says, I want happiness and the causes of happiness. Therefore, I am going to increase what I know consistently causes happiness. My positive thinking. The next positive thinking is love. Love is wanting others to have happiness and the causes of happiness. Therefore, I will help others increase the causes of their happiness, positive thinking, and positive karma. Baby love is just wanting others to be happy. It's easy to want loved ones to be happy. It's a lot harder to want people you don't really know to be happy. We as sentient beings tend to hoard our happiness, even without realizing it. Love is turning your attention outward. Instead of spending a lot of time and a lot of thinking energy, a lot of mental energy on how can I be happy? What is going to cause my happiness? You start to focus on other people and helping them have happiness. That act of turning your attention outwards, away from clinging to your own happiness and helping other people find happiness, that helps loosen our clinging to happiness. Happiness is a byproduct of the causes of happiness. Happiness is a result. By focusing our energy outwards, we create love, and that love is a form of happiness. Love antidotes jealousy. Jealousy is poisonous. Jealousy says, when someone else is happy, that makes me suffer. When I don't like someone and they experience happiness, that creates my suffering. It also says, when someone is suffering, that makes me happy. When I see someone I don't like suffer, I'm happy. I think that person deserves suffering, and so when they get suffering, then I'm happy. We think like this a lot more frequently than we want to believe. What jealousy does is it takes our perception of other people's happiness and suffering and uses it in a really negative way. It says, how dare you be happy? I'm suffering. It's the same thing of when you're having a bad day and someone's having a good day and you lash out and say, stop being so peppy. It's also seeing someone that you might have had a disagreement with going through some really rough times and saying, well, they deserve it. This type of thinking, this jealous thinking, is nasty. It's mean. And it's not something that you want to slip into because it's insidious and it's hard to find. Love antidotes this kind of thinking because it focuses our thinking on other people's happiness and joy. And we cling to happiness so much. We want it so badly. Every aspect of our lives is in some way situated around acquiring happiness. And so by focusing on wanting someone else to be happy, you let go a little bit of that clinging to happiness. And in that letting go, in that release, is happiness. Love doesn't stop you from being happy. Love doesn't prevent you from increasing your happiness. It just reduces the amount that you cling to it. It says the happiness of others is good. I want other people to have that happiness. I want them to experience the happiness that I want. And it's great when they do. That's what love is. The final positive thinking is wisdom. Wisdom is all positive thinking. It's renunciation, compassion, faith, and love. Wisdom is increasing awareness of why renunciation, compassion, faith, and love are true. Of increasing your awareness of single present moment thinking only. Increasing your awareness of cause and effect. Increasing your awareness of Buddha nature. Wisdom is knowing that listening to a teaching on Buddhism will help increase the causes of your happiness, will help decrease the causes of your suffering, and will help you be a better condition for other people to have happiness, and will reduce the amount that you condition other people's suffering. Wisdom is the strength, is the bedrock of renunciation, compassion, faith, and love. It's where the strength of those come from. It's much easier to have a very strong love when you know why that love is powerful. Increasing your wisdom antidotes ignorance. It antidotes stupidity. Wisdom forces you to look inward, recognizing that when I am angry, it is easier for others to be angry, and therefore recognizing that I should decrease my anger. That's wisdom. Recognizing that when other people are suffering, there are ways that I can help, and wanting to help. That is wisdom. Recognizing the benefits of positive thinking. Recognizing that when I am experiencing positive thinking, I am joyful and I am happy. Trusting that is wisdom. Wanting other people to have happiness and recognizing that you can help those people have happiness, wanting to help those people increase the causes of their happiness, That is wisdom, and it directly antidotes ignorance, which is the root of all our suffering. So what does it mean to take refuge in Dharma? It means that you recognize positive thinking as a cause of happiness. You recognize positive thinking as a protector, upholder, and savior from suffering. It means that when the going gets tough, my 5 positive thinking will protect me. When everything around me seems to be falling down, I can go to these 5 positive thinking as a source of happiness, that they will protect me from suffering. And that is why we take refuge in Dharma, in Buddha Dharma. That is why we take refuge in my 5 positive thinking. Thinking is the root of action. So if you really genuinely believe that your renunciation, compassion, faith, love, and wisdom are true, authentic Dharma, then you will act like it, and you will become a ray of sunshine. Dharma is Path Buddha. It is the path that will lead us to 100% positive thinking. It will lead us out of suffering. I have more positive thinking now than I did 10 years ago. I have more positive thinking now than I did 5 years ago. I have more positive thinking now than I did last year. I have more positive thinking now than I did 10 minutes ago. I can increase this all the way. By taking refuge in my positive thinking, I will increase my happiness, and I will continue to walk along the path that gets me to Buddha. Every positive thinking that I have is one footstep towards Buddha. It's one step closer to being 100% free from suffering and the causes of suffering. If you have a Buddha path, you can read along with me. We're on page 48. May I realize Dharma is good thinking. May I realize Dharma is pure perception. For the unchangeable happiness of all sentient beings, from now until enlightenment, in any situation, in every situation, I take refuge in the Dharma. The Dharma is my path. The Dharma is the cause of all happiness. From the bottom of my heart, I trust, I promise, I am certain. So your homework for this course is to check your experience. Have you been unhappy while having positive thinking? Try generating each of these positive thinkings, and when you generate it, look at what happens. Look at your thinking. Are you happy? Look at some of the experiences that you've already had. Have you used positive thinking to pull yourself out of a bad place? Did it work? How often did it work? I also want you to look at what you are taking refuge in as the cause of your happiness right now. When you are sad, what do you think will make you not sad? When you identify those, I want you to look at it and really ask yourself, does this always work? And to what degree does it work? If it always works, does it always work well? Does it work better sometimes and worse others? Are there some times that it doesn't work at all? I also want you, at the end of the day, to write down at least 3 instances of you having positive thinking: renunciation, compassion, faith, love, and wisdom. At the end of the day, when you write these down, I want you to look at what you did, look at what you thought, and really rejoice in that. After a few weeks, I want you to do a little check and ask yourself, do you feel happier in general? So this concludes the second teaching in this course on the 3 jewels of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I want to thank you for listening to Pinnacle of Awesome, Buddhism Basics. This course has a lot of meat to it. Because we're talking about Dharma, which is the only thing that Buddha ever talks about, it's important to give a really good foundation in it. So we talked about renunciation, which is recognizing that negative thinking causes my suffering and wanting to get rid of it. We talked about compassion, which is recognizing that other people suffer and wanting to help them decrease the causes of their suffering. We talked about faith, which is recognizing that my positive thinking causes my happiness and wanting to increase it. We talked about love, which is recognizing that other people's happiness is something that we want for them and wanting to help other people increase the causes of their happiness. And we also talked about wisdom, which is all of those positive thinking combined. It is the root of all positive thinking. I hope that you take these and really test out to see if they have positive impact on your life. Do they effectively antidote the negative thinking that you have? Our next teaching will be on Sangha. It's the final teaching in our course on the 3 jewels. If you have any questions or just want to share your experiences, you can always email me at pinnacleofawesome@gmail.com. May these teachings benefit you as much as they have benefited me. May we use these teachings to decrease our anger, jealousy, greed, pride, and ignorance. May we use these teachings to increase our renunciation, compassion, faith, love, and wisdom. May we be better people tomorrow than we are today.